Understanding that you can change this, of course, is not enough in and of itself. Insight does not rewire the brain, but specific practice does. And this is where that 63-day piece from the blog becomes so important. Research on neuroplasticity suggests that new thought patterns begin forming in about 21 days, and those new thoughts are strengthened between 21 and 49, roughly. And that the more stable emotional and behavioral changes, where the new response starts to feel more automatic, usually takes about 63 days of specific and consistent practice. And this is why I like to think in a 63-day arc when I'm designing work with clients. And that, phase 1 or the days 1 to 21 is deconstructing the old pattern or patterns. The first 21 days are not about forcing yourself to be positive. They're about becoming consciously aware of what has been unconscious. And in this phase, you begin to notice what you're thinking, what you're feeling, where those emotions live in your body. You might notice things like every time I feel like I've disappointed someone, my chest really tightens. Or when I obsess over what could go wrong, I get a headache, often in the front of my skull. Or when I'm scared of being abandoned or replaced, I feel this hollow ache in my stomach. And instead of judging those reactions, we get curious and we ask questions about the emotions, the reactions, and we ask questions like, where did that pattern come from? And when do I first remember feeling that way? What belief is actually hiding under this reaction and driving all of this? And sometimes the belief is, if I'm not perfect, I'll be rejected, or I don't have the right to be here, like those people do, kind of like an imposter syndrome, or it's not safe to meet anyone. By simply observing and naming these patterns, we begin to loosen their grip. And as much as that might sound like just common sense, the majority of people that I work with are trying to run from these very thoughts. They're trying to run from themselves and their anxiety. The old anxious circuits start to weaken, not because you're fighting them, but because you're finally seeing them, which helps you face the anxiety and not fear it so much. So by around day 21, the anxiety superhighway is cracked and it's full of potholes. The highway is no longer efficient, but we haven't built a new one yet. And that's where phase 2 begins. That's days 21 to 49, and that's reconstructing new patterns. In this phase, we begin to rewrite the internal script, not with fluffy affirmations that you can't believe or buy into, but with grounded truths your system can actually receive and buy into. And that can only come with understanding what has been driving you and your patterns, your responses below the surface. And instead of what if this goes wrong and everything falls apart, we introduce ideas like, I've handled difficult things before, always figured it out, and I'm a lot smarter now. Instead of, they're upset, I have failed, we move toward, their emotions belong to them and I can stay grounded in mine. This is not pretending that everything is fine. This is choosing a more accurate and supportive interpretation and repeating it long enough that your brain says, this is my new pattern. So now, of course, I've simplified things, but combining intentional thoughts and feelings with specific meditative practice is huge. You are literally walking a new neural path again and again. You notice the old thought, you pause, you choose a new one, and you support that with a feeling. At first, it feels clumsy and effortful, and you forget sometimes, and you'll notice that you spiraled after you spiraled. It's okay. By continuing to show up, you're laying down a new pathway. And this is the basis of a new superhighway, thought by thought, reaction by reaction. And phase 3, those days 49 to 63, that's automation and stabilization. And in that phase 3 is where most people often feel tempted to stop, right when things are about to really lock in. By day 49, you might already feel less reactive and you might bounce back from spirals more quickly. You might notice that there seems to be a lot greater time between a trigger and your response. It's easy to think, I'm fine now, I can back off. And the brain and body actually need these last 2 weeks to stabilize the new patterns. Here, we focus on strengthening the new emotional reflex, integrating it into your sense of identity and helping your nervous system encode in a long-term memory. In this phase, it's not enough to just think the new belief. You begin to really practice feeling it. And this is where meditative, very specific meditative approaches become so powerful, because the right ones aimed at building the new superhighway involve both the mind and the body. For example, instead of just saying, I can handle uncertainty, you sit with your body and you breathe and you practice what it feels like to be steady when things are unresolved or you're not certain. Instead of just saying, I am allowed to rest, you give your nervous system the actual experience of resting without self-punishment. That is what tells your brain, this is not just an idea, this is who we are now. And by around day 63, the new pattern begins to function as your default, more than the anxious one. When you see anxiety through this lens, the question changes. It is no longer, how do I make this feeling go away? It becomes, what have I trained my brain and body to expect, and what do I want to train them to expect instead? Anxiety is rarely about the email, the conversation, the symptom, or the external stressor. It is about the story you're telling yourself about what it means, the neural pathways your brain has favored for years, the emotion your body has memorized, the belief that has not been questioned yet. And that can sound big, I get it, but it's actually really approachable and very hopeful. Your nervous system is trainable. You are not fixed as an anxious person. It is not just happening to you. You are living inside your own practice patterns. And with the right process, you can practice peace instead. And again, the same brain and body habit that has been practicing anxiety can be retrained into an optimized, peaceful, genuinely happy state that makes true sustainable success possible. This is the work I do with my clients, especially high-performing, sensitive, thoughtful people who are tired of white-knuckling their way through anxiety. My programs are built around the rewiring model, the body-mind connection, how we communicate with the field, and the deeper subconscious drivers behind anxiety and automated stress responses. This work is not about stopping panic before a meeting, or at least it's not just about that. It's about building a brain and a body that feel safer, steadier, and more alive, so anxiety is not running your life in the background. Here's what I want you to remember. Your anxiety is not random. It is not proof that something is wrong with who you are or the way you are. It is not your identity. It is a practiced response. And anything practiced can be unpracticed, and anything wired can be rewired. So maybe your next step is small. You notice where the anxiety shows up in your body. You name the story your mind is telling you. You ask, what else might be true right now? You give yourself a few minutes each day to breathe, and you consciously practice a different response. It will not be perfect. It doesn't have to be. Every practice repetition counts. Your brain is already primed for change. Your nervous system is not your enemy. It is waiting for new instructions, and it's receptive. All it needs is your specific, intentional participation in the process. And if you want to support walking through the 63-day path in a structured way, you can click the link below and inquire about working with me. That place you're afraid to enter, the one that holds your anxiety, your patterns, your old beliefs, also holds your deepest peace and your greatest success. It's you. You hold your peace and your success.